Derecho, I had never heard that name before.
I didn't even know what a derecho was.
It was a lot of destruction.
We just started driving around the streets, pushing trees out.
This recovery process is going to take decades.
There's always a silver lining to every story.
This is a KCCI 8 News special, Derecho Disaster.
Good evening, I'm Storm Team 8 Chief Meteorologist Chris Gloninger. 1 year ago today, a large swath of Iowa was an absolute mess. A strong storm, something called a derecho, ripped through, and it changed our state forever.
I told her to seek cover. So she did. She went into the bathroom and she said that she could feel the trailer lifting up.
It sounded like a bomb went off inside, that's when we took off and went down to the basement. And then looked out and saw that.
Damage spanned 770 miles from South Dakota all the way to Ohio. Winds reached 140 miles per hour, and after the storm passed, losses total $11 billion. It was 1 year ago today, on what seemed like a normal Monday morning in August, when thunderstorms turned severe and tornado sirens began to wail.
Just got a report in from a weather station in Albion, in Marshall County, 99-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
I just want to keep tracking out this main area of winds because it has been a prolific damage producer.
Tonight I'll talk with Jason Sudeiko about his efforts to help people in the path of the derecho as it blew through and after it passed. Those winds hit farmers hard in the fields and in the barnyard. How they got back on their feet despite being hit at one of the worst possible times. 4 million trees were lost in the storm. I found out why we'll feel the loss environmentally and financially. And derechos aren't new, but what made this one so damaging and why wasn't there more warning? I went to Iowa State to ask the expert. The derecho cut through the heart of the state. Some of Iowa's bigger cities like Cedar Rapids and Marshalltown took a direct hit. While those cities captured headlines, smaller towns like Slater and Luther were left in absolute mess. Take a look at some of the fiercest, Slater took some of the fiercest winds. Gusts reached 100 miles per hour at times. Winds that strong required a cleanup to match. If you listen closely, you can hear repairs still being made 1 year later.
We're just finally getting that fixed.
New gutters going up on the Slater Public Library. Pretty minor when you think about everything that happened on August 10th, 2020.
A lot of debris, a lot of downed trees. There were power lines in places. It was a lot of destruction.
Library Director Jennifer Gogarty says the derecho left the town trashed, but not for long.
People were putting chains on trees and dragging them outside of town for people and getting them off the streets and clearing roads.
How we doing, guys? Good.
Sean Birdsall is one of those guys who got right to work. He owns Nighthawk Bar and Grill. Once Sean assessed his own damage, he traded a heavy pool for the heavy equipment.
So we instantly got into 2 inloaders and we just started driving around the streets, pushing trees out. Anything that had power lines in it, we left it and went a different route.
And Sean kept working for a week till the job was done, but he was far from alone.
Everybody just went to their neighbors. People that couldn't help, they drug their stuff out. The town was amazing. It was absolutely incredible to watch. It was not a good situation, but if you didn't take anything good out of it, you were in the wrong community for sure.
The best parts of small towns, everybody comes together.
Such inspiration. People around town kept saying that while there was such a mess here, they were amazed at how quickly everyone got together and cleaned up. One of the biggest challenges, though, was the lack of power. It took more than a week before it was fully restored to Slater. Iowa's second largest city captured most of the national headlines. Every corner of Cedar Rapids was damaged. The entire city was without power for at least a week. More than 65% of their trees were damaged or destroyed. In the days after the derecho, many were critical of how long it took for help to arrive. Our news partners at KCRG-TV investigated the state's emergency management system. They found that many cities request outside help while they get caught up in the request process.
But you got to fill out a form, you got to appeal to the governor, you got to talk to Iowa Homeland Security. You just need to get people water.
A former member of FEMA's National Advisory Council told KCRG that bureaucracy ensues, resources are not abused. But she said if all cities and counties needing help organized in one room, the process of getting help would speed up. In central Iowa, a destructive storm once again found its way to Marshalltown a little more than 2 years after an EF3 tornado touched down. The city says more than 2,900 structures were impacted, 8 of them destroyed. This storm caused millions of dollars in damage across town. The Riverside Cemetery was left a huge mess. Graves, trees, and fences destroyed, likely leaving more than $1 million in damage behind. The manager of the cemetery says they still need money, and there's still plenty of work to do.
We've collected donations from all over Marshalltown and the state, and out of state even, former residents, a GoFundMe account. All of that money so far has been applied towards the tree bill. We have about 165,000 left to pay on that. Our tree service, Top Notch, took a $130 donation off of that, so we ended up with $700,000 that we had to pay back.
In true Marshalltown spirit, a family who lost a loved one held their Memorial 5K at the cemetery earlier this month. And yes, all the money raised went towards the cemetery. In Boone County, the tiny town of Luther had one of the biggest displays of damage. Sky 8 captured video of these grain bins. Check that out, smashed. And all you see is grain spilling out onto the ground below. KCCI stopped by the Heartland Co-op a couple of weeks ago, and it's rebuilt. Heartland Co-op says overall, 81 of its grain bins were damaged, spanning 25 different locations. One of them in Chelsea was so badly damaged that it wasn't ready for last year's fall harvest. Many individual farmers across the state also lost their storage bins. Storm Team 8 meteorologist Matinka Slater introduces us to one farmer near Woodward who found himself in a bad situation prior to fall harvest.
We had trees that were 40 years old in our yards, beautiful trees, and they're gone. I think Gone with the Wind pretty well described our operation.
Boone County farmer Rod Pierce isn't exaggerating. Look at this aerial photo days after the derecho. You can see pieces of his outbuildings spread across a field east of his farm. And look here on the north side.
We had 3 bins that were totaled. Wind blew the tops in,
leaving Rod without a place to put his grain right before fall harvest. Any other year, that would be a problem.
It didn't affect me as much as it normally would have because I also lost 1,000 acres of crop, which I'd never had happen before either. But I mean, it was totally flat. I'd never done anything so depressing as disking up a 200 bushel corn crop before the derecho.
The corn went down in the derecho.
Rod and his son found ways to smile, but so many other farmers were feeling their same pain.
It was well over 100 million bushels of grain storage that was damaged or destroyed.
Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig says co-ops and individual farmers had to scramble to rebuild before harvest.
This flag was on our flagpole.
And even today, as you get across the state in that damage path, you still see grain bins that are yet to be repaired or that have clearly been torn down and need to be replaced.
Both Naig and Pierce agree insurance is what helped farmers survive the storm.
Many of the losses that a farmer would have experienced, whether it's crop or buildings or grain handling facilities, are things that are insurable.
We had approximately $1.2 million worth of insurance checks.
But even with all that damage, Rod's determined to do what he's done for decades.
I'm a corn guy and I love to grow good corn.
Matinka Slater, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
Matinka, thank you. To this day, Iowa lawmakers are still working to get farmers more financial help. We asked Governor Kim Reynolds about the difficulty of responding to that day and what's still being done to help even more farmers move on from the derecho.
Devastating. I mean, that was in the middle of COVID. I didn't even know what a derecho was and the impact that it had on our state and our farmers stored grain. That had a significant impact as well. So we'll continue to look at that. I know Congressman Feenstra was able to get in a bill, some additional funding to kind of bridge that gap between what they got from insurance and what actually their loss was.
An update on that in just a second, but a recent report from Farm Bureau found Iowa farmers have more than $147 million in unaccounted losses from the derecho. Just 2 weeks ago, Iowa representatives, Democrat Cindy Axne and Republican Randy Feenstra, helped get derecho-related losses included in a bill that covers damage from severe storms. Coming up next on derecho disaster 1 year later, watching the storm unfold in real time and sending out the warning.
But you don't really look at the radar, especially in the morning, and think these could be storms that could eventually produce 140-mile-an-hour winds.
What went through Jason Sudeiko's head as he tracked the storm and the pull he felt to help out? Plus, Iowa's landscape changed for generations, what the trees took with them when they were destroyed in the derecho. We'll be right back. Welcome back. All right, I have a question for you. Where were you when the derecho blew through Iowa on August 10th, 2020? It's a question most of us can easily answer, especially my colleague, Storm Team 8 meteorologist Jason Sudeiko, who was on duty right here that destructive day. What started as a quiet morning sure took a nasty turn. At what point were you thinking this was going to be a really big deal?
Yeah, so we started to see the line develop and storms develop off to the west. They didn't look like much yet, but as they started to track a little bit to the east and we started to get those damage reports in, I started to do cut-ins, trying to keep people updated on the potential of the storms. And then once we started to get, much stronger reports, winds of around 80 to 90 miles an hour, I made the call to just go on. Continuing to track a line of severe storms, tracking it from west of the metro all the way through the metro and all the way into the eastern portion of the state. We tried to keep people, give them as much lead time as we could because these were really damaging storms and they were fast moving storms too. And it's at 140 miles an hour on the radar. And usually you see that and you're like, okay, that's maybe a little bit on the high end of the potential, but that area actually had a confirmed 140 mile an hour wind gust.
At any point, were there indications that this was going to unfold in the way it did? Were there any models that were showing this possibility?
Nothing of this strength. I mean, you look at a day like the day of the derecho, and we knew we had a ton of energy in the atmosphere. We knew there were going to be thunderstorms. But none of the models were showing a massive line making its way across the state.
What was that moment for you that your job wasn't done when you left the studio? You continued it to make sure that the community was okay.
Being a meteorologist, you're on air a lot, you're on the screen a lot, and you can track these storms and see the damage. But actually seeing the video of some of the places that got hit the hardest, like, it really hit me hard. And I knew that I needed to go out and help these people. So I just got done helping out at the Iowa Derecho Storm Recovery. It's a Facebook group. It was also crazy to see the need. I mean, the amount of people that came that needed the donations. I mean, they had a huge pile of water at one point. But there was a constant need for people. And I just felt like there was never going to be enough people. So man, you get down on the human level of things and you're like, what can I do to actually make a difference? And I knew if I was actually to head out there and help with that effort, that would be the biggest impact that I could have at that point.
Is there one lasting image or impression that you still have with you after a year and that you'll hold on to for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just driving through the town and driving through neighborhoods. I mean, you get like a tornado and it'll cut through a couple blocks, because generally, especially here, tornadoes don't last that long. They're on the ground for a few minutes. But the whole city had damage. Seeing that, like, you usually associate something like that with a hurricane or something of much bigger scope than what we typically see here. So just that level of devastation and that level of impact for Iowa, like, for me, that's going to stick with me for a long time.
Speaking of impact, 4.4 million trees, 12% of all trees in Iowa either damaged or destroyed by the derecho. A large swath of our state looks much differently because so many trees are gone. Laura Terrell explains how long it could be before Iowa regains its tree cover, and the recovery at one spot hit especially hard.
This is what's left of our trees.
Massive piles dot the grounds through the Iowa Arboretum near Madrid.
A tub grinding company came in and set up and grabbed all the debris, tree debris and branches and trunks and everything, and put it into this tub grinder that made it into mulch.
Executive Director Mark Snyder says about half of the Arboretum's 700 trees were damaged or destroyed in just 45 minutes on August 10th, 2020.
It toppled trees over, so roots were exposed. We had branches broken in trees. We had tops broken out of trees. We had over $300,000 worth of damage on the grounds. It wasn't a great day for us.
Tough to see for a tree lover.
Maybe even a tree hugger.
Who knows how much these landmarks mean to people who may not realize their true value until they're gone.
I think it's a legacy. It's something that people can really attach to. It tells a story. It creates an environment. It's part of our landscape.
And for now, so much of Iowa's landscape looks a little barren. Nick McGrath of the Iowa DNR and Trees Forever says the derecho was the most destructive single event ever for trees in our state.
The derecho actually damaged or destroyed more trees than emerald ash borer. And we all kind of know what those effects feel like because we're still in the midst of doing all of those removals. This was bigger than that.
Along with losing familiar friends, Iowans are missing out on many benefits trees bring, like shade.
I lost a great big linden that shaded my home. My energy bill has shot up pretty significantly.
McGrath says trees also help stop flash flooding.
When the rain falls, it hits the leaves first, which slows it down, and the leaves will actually help to absorb. And then when it falls down to the ground, those roots will absorb even more water. It's going back into our streets. It's going back into storm sewers.
They even filter the air.
But without those trees, all that dust, the smoke coming from the wildfires, it has to go somewhere.
McGrath says it takes decades to regain what Iowa has lost. The best thing you can do? Plant a tree, but make sure you're doing it right, which is exactly what they've been doing at the Iowa Arboretum.
It's a honey locust.
A fundraiser has taken in $140,000. 80 new trees are already in the ground, growing optimism for future generations.
I think that the Arboretum is a spiritual place. It's a place people can come to connect with nature. Even though we had the storm, nature is still here. It doesn't disappear.
Laura Terrell, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
And coming up next, the derecho's lasting impacts and how it already is changing the way we're warned about severe weather. And an expert at ISU explains why more of these storms could be in our future. The derecho 1 year ago caught many by surprise, meteorologists included. But emergency officials are learning from this disaster, and you'll notice it for years to come because weather experts are certain we'll see more storms like this in the future.
A derecho like we had last year is every bit as dangerous as a tornado.
Tornado sirens wailed as the derecho blew through, but cell phones remained silent. You see, up until earlier this month, your cell phone would only activate for tornadoes and flash floods because of the wireless emergency alerts system.
An hour of hurricane-force winds should not be given the same warning as what we're used to with a severe thunderstorm.
Iowa State meteorology professor Dr. Bill Gallus said the 2020 derecho helped implement change. Now, your phone will alert you before such a high-impact event. So let's take a look back at what made this event historic.
Most of the computer models recognize that on Sunday night, Iowa was a bit of a powder keg. There was a lot of instability. And what the models did is they suggested a large thunderstorm complex would blow up over the state on Sunday night.
Those storms never formed. Remember when Dr. Gallus said the atmosphere was a powder keg?
Last summer in parts of Iowa, including here in Ames, was very dry. And all summer there'd be thunderstorms that we would wake up to in eastern Nebraska, and they would roll into western Iowa and die.
That morning would be very different, and that powder keg was ready to explode.
It became pretty clear as it rolled into western Iowa, it started to grow in size and grow in intensity, and pretty much most meteorologists were then kind of scrambling to keep up with how bad the situation was going to be.
There is no question we'll see another derecho. How soon is up in the air, but climate change could affect the when. Think of the jet stream as the highway for storms. The temperature difference between the Arctic and equator helps control the speed. The larger the temperature spread, the faster the jet stream wins. Because of climate change, there's less of a temperature difference, and the flow is slowing. This will hinder severe weather potential, but a warmer atmosphere increases energy for storms. Even with climate change, there will be cold and snow during the winter. The same can be said with a slower jet stream and severe storms.
There may be fewer days with tornadoes, maybe fewer days with derechos, but when you have them, they might be more intense than what we've typically seen in the past.
When we come back, the heroes of the storm. When the derecho blew through, help came pouring into Iowa communities. Red Cross volunteers were a big part of it. More than 300 of them set up shelters, provided meals, handed out supplies, and were simply there to support Iowans in need. Power crews were heroes too, especially in the August heat. Mid-American says the derecho was its largest storm response ever. At 2,500 crew members from 24 states were responding. Those crews were able to restore power to 86% of customers within the first 96 hours. Thank you for watching this KCCI Storm Team 8 special derecho disaster 1 year later. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Glottinger, and I'll see you again tonight on KCCI 8 News at 9 and 10.